Yeah. So I asked it, okay, if you're given a
Asked
million
what?
Jamaican, I asked
Which
Claude. It's
okay.
one of the large language models. So most people probably know ChatGPT made by OpenAI. Claude is similar to that, but it's made by another company, Anthropic. Just my personal preference. It's free to use to a certain point. And basically, as I said, I uploaded certain documents and stuff. And yeah, basically, this is what I asked it to make a document, and it made a document. So I should be coming up on screen now. So I said, okay, if you had $1 million Jamaican dollars to invest, and you're looking at the market, I gave it all of the different companies on the market, some of the different contexts, like, okay, what happened with Hurricane Melissa, the interest rates, and, looking out for things like large increases in the supply of the shares without really an increase in demand. And the picks it gave. So first off, the first pick it gave was Scotia Group. So most people know it as Scotia Bank. Scotia Group Jamaica, it said he'd recommend putting 45% of the money there. So that'd be about 450K. The next one was Grace Kennedy. Well, actually, sorry, the next one was 30% in Jamaica Highway. So the people's favorite, Warren Buffett, it also seems to love it. And the next one was Grace Kennedy. So I think it was just those three stocks he decided on with $1 million Jamaican. He said Scotia Group Jamaica, 45%, Trans Jamaica, 30%. And wait, how does that? Yeah, okay, yeah, and then Grace Kennedy, 25%. And so what I see with the thesis, it says Scotia Group Jamaica, it's the number one banking, or Jamaica's number one bank, dominating the mortgage market. It said I think it's mortgage book. I can fact check. You have to probably fact check this, but it said it grew by over 24%. It's owned by Scotia in Canada. It's trading at, well, this is saying 9 times earnings. I don't know if this is actually current. What else does it say? So it goes into like some of the different metrics and stuff like that, basically saying, and then their profits are up. It said the price target, like we're just saying at the time, well, this is saying $56 at the time that we're recording. I say 52. It's saying the price target is $75 to $80, or 34 to 43% upside. Warren Buffett typically speaks about, wanting, he likes the businesses that he invests in to have a moat, where it's something where it's like, okay, just like how if you have a castle and you have a moat, which is like protecting the castle, it's like something that protects the business to make it harder, that it's not easy for another business to come up and just push the business out, And I guess that makes sense, because if you look at things like, they talk about like, Scotia is really big in mortgages. It's not, yes, I mean, you can switch your mortgage with other banks, but it's like something that I don't think is very readily swapped. It's not like something where someone's paying off their house loan or the mortgage, and then the next day they just switch it because this other one has a cheaper one, and then the next day they just switch it. I don't think that's something that's commonly done. From what I know, most people typically stay with whichever bank or company is using a mortgage and such. It's not something that's rapidly switched. So it's, I guess it's not very easy. I guess that's our view of a moat. He also says that they have a strong parent company, because Scotia Bank in Jamaica, the parent company is like Canada, and they have tons of other banks across the Caribbean. So it's like, if there were issues going on with Jamaica or the Scotia Jamaica, it's almost like the parents could step in, just like how if they have a kid, something going on with the kid, the parent can step in and say, hey, I could help lend you some money because you're going through a tough time and stuff like that. And it also makes sense too, because think about the other stuff going on, like in, say, Canada, some of the stuff that they try and do well with Canada, they could say, hey, we could just apply that to Jamaica because we already tried it in Canada, it works. So let's just apply it here, So there's that. I can say that, there can be synergies there. And he talks about how much assets they have and why it's the largest position. He says he thinks it has the best moat. He likes the management and the growth runway on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. A bank is essential to the economy, and they'll also likely benefit from Bank of Jamaica rate cuts, which can help, I guess, accelerate the demand of mortgages. And they also have a really strong balance sheet. So he's expecting a return of 12 to 15% every year. And he says a key risk could be something he mentions Basel 3, March 2026. I know that's some sort of law around banking. Could require capital raise or money to be raised. Yeah, I think it has something to do with like the ratios, like how much money the bank needs to have on hand. So it's like banks, say you have your money in the bank, and or lots of different people's the money adds up to $1 billion US. It's like the bank doesn't actually have the $1 billion US there sitting down ready for everybody to draw out at the same time. It's like there's rules and regulations to say, okay, you need to have 50% of that or 20% of that or whatever, percentage and such. So yeah, how do you feel about that pick? Do you agree with Mr. Buffett or no?
I think Scotia is a strong pick, if I'm being honest. I do like it in terms of in the banking sector specifically. Scotia is definitely one of the top players. I like the moat that it is there. So that protective layer and the rationale behind the moat as well. So I do agree with what he's saying in terms of the allocation. I don't know. It's not bad. Hey, it's Warren Buffett. How am I to argue with Warren Buffett? But I I do agree though. I like it as a pick. I think it's a very strong pick. Especially because Warren Buffett does preach like investing for long term and the rationale and it being resilient to a lot of outside factors and shocks and so on. So yeah, I think it's a strong pick so far. Very strong pick.
Okay, good. So next one was Jamaica Highway. The people's favorite stock. It said he wanted to do 30% allocation. He was saying, well, the thesis here says this is an issue here because it says Jamaica's only highway, which is not true. It says a legal monopoly, exclusive concession. They had a lot of growth in the amount of vehicles. He likes infrastructure companies. He likes the high dividend yield, the predictable cash flows, strong revenue growth or strong sales growth, strong profit growth. He says his price target. Well, this is saying the price at the time was $4.63, but the price is really like what, which price? Today it is at $4.10. He's saying $4.10. He's saying his price target is $5.56. So Mr. Buffett thinks Transjam is going to go to $6 or could go to $6, And he says that's one of the major highways, pricing power, they can adjust the tolls, strong cash flow. And he says it's exceptional. The why? Exceptional quality, but it's smaller than Scotia because of they're going to have some sort of, saying a concession expiry. It's 2036 is the year? That's the...
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, okay.
That does sound familiar.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so he's saying that, but he's saying that the dividend yield provides some downside protection, and phase 1C acquisition he expects to add revenue, and this critical infrastructure renewal is highly likely, and also the phase 1C. And it says exit triggers would be things like traffic declines for 2 consecutive quarters, cuts in dividends, and government signing non-renewal. So that's Jamaica. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, definitely knew Transjam would be in it. I think Transjam is a very strong business. It's definitely a Buffett-esque type business because I know he loves... Is he the one that liked railroads?
Yeah.
But he likes infrastructure. Yeah, he definitely loves infrastructure companies and so on, and he's right. They do pay good dividends, and the capital gains have been good. So I do see... I definitely see why it's in his portfolio. I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last but not least is Grace Kennedy. So you want to put 25% in Grace Kennedy. Investment thesis is over 100 years old. They're, I guess, diversified into food, banking, insurance, remittances, which is like sending down money from abroad. A lot of their money comes from outside and it's in USD, so they're hedged against that versus like the depreciation of the Jamaican dollar. He's basically saying like, their balance sheet is strong and stuff, so it's not like they owe heavy amounts of debt and those stuff. This is saying the price at the time is $70 and the target is $90 to $95, so about 29 to 36%. So he says the Grace brand is really strong. It's over 100 years and they have really nice pricing across multiple countries. They're very strong with distribution. And he says why it's the 25%. It has a lot of value, a lot of international diversification. But he says the conservative sizing due to the first half 2025 profit was a bit low because of logistic pressures. The new CEO execution risk, we did mention, well, the previous CEO, the late Don Webby, RIP. We had a new CEO stepping up. I think it's Frank James, Mr. Frank James. I would love to have him on. And he says it's been a while since they've had some large mergers and acquisitions. And he wants them to prove the expansion thesis first. But yeah, he says the new CEO must execute mergers and acquisitions. And they have a lot of cash for some acquisitions. He's saying some of the exit triggers would be if you're having some 2 consecutive quarters of profit decline, failed mergers and acquisitions, and also cuts in the dividends. Yeah, how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, no, that one was good. I think that one was really good. I also like the fact that it also gave the risk of there being a new CEO. So I said execution risk, meaning like, can this new CEO actually execute on a lot of Grace's plans? Because we already know about Grace's 2030 vision. For those who don't know, Grace put out a 2030 vision, meaning there are some revenue targets that they have by the year 2030 that they need to meet. And, they want to list on different exchanges and they just have a lot of big plans. So it's wondering if, well, I say it's really, we're going to use it as a he because we're pretending that this is Warren Buffett. And it's Warren Buffett actually speaking to us. So yeah, he said it was, that's a risk. So I like putting in the risk as well, because I think even in Warren Buffett's memos and so on, he has that in it as well. So for the shareholders of his company, Berkshire Hathaway. So I think it's a good pick as well. And you'll see, well, we'll talk about it when we hit my own. But yeah, I think those are good strong picks, and it's just 3 of them. So yeah. I like your approach as to how you approached it. I think my approach was very similar.